Hi guys, Josh Lloyd here, NBA DraftKings first look for Wednesday. It's a busy Wednesday. We've got 11 games on. Hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Guys, let's get stuck into it. First game, Pistons, Pacers. That's good. No spread out for this one because Miles Turner and Malcolm Brogdon are both questionable still for Indiana after missing last game. Wayne Ellington is questionable for Detroit. Rodney Magruder remains out over there as well. Karis LeVert, 6,600, had 38 points last game. I think that's a really, really good play if Brogdon is out. Now, we don't know that at this point, so it's hard to say it's a guarantee great play, but it's got all the makings of it at this stage. Miles Turner at 56, I do like that quite a bit if he does play. He is quite inconsistent, though, so there is an issue, like 35, 32, 19. But anytime you're hitting 30 at 5,600, there is real good value in that. Sabonis at 94, I think he easily breaks that value in terms of floor numbers against the Pistons, and it probably helps him a little bit if Turner does sit. Well, 7,400 for Jeremy Grant. I don't know. I'm not really feeling Jeremy Grant at the moment. 47 for Isaiah Stewart. He's playing well, but I'm not sure he's a great fantasy or DFS guy, while Mason Plumlee at 5,900 also takes a little bit of that value away. I like TJ McConnell only in a scenario where Brogdon is out, but he's priced up quite a bit. 5,900 is probably a little bit too high, and then your Sadiq Bays and Josh Jacksons and Dennis Smith's probably also a little bit too much on the high side there for me. The next game we've got is the Boston Celtics. They are taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Yanni is questionable for Milwaukee. Jason Tatum is off the injury report, so he'll return. But Tristan Thompson remains sidelined with the COVID protocols. In terms of value here, Antetokounmpo's at 10,800. Now, if we get word that he's playing, I think that's a really good spot to be a 60-point player. Middleton's at 8,000. Only if Yanni is out would I be really considering that. He had over 40 last game without Antetokounmpo. While Kemba Walker rested last game, he'll return. He's at 6,500. I don't like that really for him. I do like the 7,200 for Drew Holiday, though, especially if Antetokounmpo is out. Tatum's at 86. Recent production from Jace hasn't been fantastic. He's averaging under 40 over his last five. Last couple of games are pretty poor, but nice couple of 45 pluses over here. I don't mind using him. I wouldn't be fully wrapping myself into it. While Rob Williams is up at 6,000, and he is wildly inconsistent. Now, the matchup, I think, could suit him, so that does put him as a 40-plus point upside player in a GPP scenario, but that's probably about it. While 6,400 for Dante DiVincenzo just feels wild. That's too high. There's no way that I want to be spending that on the big Ragu. Next up, we look at the Denver Nuggets and the Toronto Raptors. Who the hell is going to be playing for Toronto? Is Norman Powell going to be on this team? Is Kyle Lowry going to be on this team? I have no idea at this stage. The Nuggets are 1-point favorites coming off the back-to-back, and the total here is 224. OG Anunoby rested last game, and he comes back at 5,500, so I am pretty in on Anunoby at that sort of salary, and for some reason he's listed as a power forward center despite starting over half the games as the team's small forward. I think at 5,500 he looks pretty good. Siakam at 73, fine by the team for arguing with Nick Nurse. I like that bounce back potential at that salary. While Big Chungus Nikola Jokic at 10.7, I think he's going to massacre him. I think he's dropping 60 plus here, especially if they put Chris Boucher on him. That is going to get very, very ugly. Michael Porter Jr. is at 6,900. I'm not ready to get into that. I am more ready to look at the headmaster, Jamal Murray, at 7,300. We don't know if Monty Morris is going to play in this game as well. He's missed the last, feels like forever that he's been out. Freddie VanVleet at 79. I love what Fred's doing, and obviously if Lowry or Powell are traded before this game, his value goes higher. So VanVleet, to me, looks pretty good. I'd be pretty much fading Lowry and Powell at this stage as well, even with if they do happen to play their current salary. Is probably just a little bit too high there for me. All right, let's go on to the next game, which is, Josh, what are we looking at? The Cleveland Cavaliers, yes, and the Chicago Bulls. This is the game that we are looking at. Another couple of teams who are involved in some sort of trade talks, although the Cavs is likely to be Andre Drummond, and he's not playing anyway. But the Bulls, who knows? Wendell Carter Jr., maybe. Kobe White, potentially. Larry Markkinen, who knows? Thad Young, I don't know. Lots of stuff could change. The Bulls, 5.5-point favorites. The total's 218. Satoransky, 4,600. Love it. Love it. He's playing well. He's getting good production at the starting point guard position. 27 and 30 in the last two games at 4,600. Can't complain with that. Sexton's at 74. I reckon he tears the Bulls a new one, so I'm all about using him there. While Thad Young at 6,400 always feels too high, and I am not willing to get into that. Levine's at 8,500. I like that he's coming down in price, and that puts him back on the radar for me. Well, Darius Garland's at 66. That's too high. 76 for Jarrett Allen is only a flyer. He's had some ups and downs, but if there's ever a game for centers to get back in form, it appears to be against Chicago. So that could be an option for us. Larry Markkinen at 55. Look, he's really struggling at the moment, but 5,500 for Larry Markkinen is super cheap. Do I think he's a good player? No. Do I think he can easily beat that number? Yeah, like 35s, 28s, 31s, 29s, like very easily. That is a very low salary for Markkinen, despite what you might think of him. McGee had a bananas game last game, 36 points for JaVale. He's at 3,500. I wouldn't bank on that happening again, though. Well, I think we can leave Chetty Osman and Wendell Carter Jr. for people who don't know what they're doing. Next game. We've got Memphis. They are taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are welcoming back some players in this one. We're going to have, most likely, it looks like Al Horford returning, Lou Dort returning, no Darius Baisley yet. So a bit of a crowded front court, I guess, with Pokusevski and Roby and Moses Brown, how all those guys fit in. Kyle Anderson's at 5,100. He has been putting in some pretty big performances in the last couple. 43 in his last game. That's pretty impressive. Starting at power forward, taking minutes away from Brandon Clark. I like what he's doing. Well, Jonas Valanciunas at 7,700. Really good opportunity for Jonas to drop another 40 bombs on our heads. While Gilgeous-Alexander at 83, I'm all right with. I'm not fully involved in it. I like it. I'd rather go down and take Ja Moran at 7,500. Despite some of his struggles, he is putting up some good DraftKings performances. Pokusevski is at 8,000. He's not at 8,000. He's at 5,200, but he dropped in 37 points last game. He had 48 in a game against the Grizzlies earlier. He's a nice GPP option. So is Dylan Brooksy Brooks at 5,200. Very hard to trust them from a floor perspective, but some pretty good upside there. Moses Brown at 5,700. That's too expensive with Horf returning. I just don't see how you can get yourself invested in that at all. Phoenix and Orlando. That is the next game. This is a back-to-back for both of these teams. Aaron Gordon, obviously one of the big names mentioned in terms of trades. Whether he is on this squad by the time this game kicks off, or tips off actually would be more appropriate, we don't know. He's at 7,000. I wouldn't mind using him at that sort of price, listed as a point guard in one of the stupidest position designations you'll see. There is some value in him. I like Chrissy Paul at 7,700. The back-to-back maybe worries me somewhat, but I like that salary. Booker at 81 is strong also. And then Ayton at 58. Always got to like him there. Even though there is some concerns with how he plays, there is a big opportunity for him. Nick Vucevic at 9,600, I think looks all right to me as well. Bit of a down game in his last one against Big Chungus, but some upside value. Well, Evan Fournier, holy shit, this guy is just racking up the numbers. Scored like 30-plus real-lifers against Denver, which it's not reflected here in the game log, but 39 and 38 and 37 in 3 of the last 4 games, and then put up a really big performance again today. If I'm just looking for the numbers that he did actually put up today, 45 DraftKings points today, and it's 6,800. That looks pretty nice. Terry Ross, Al-Farouq Aminu dropped 45 as well on Tuesday. I think we can have absolutely zero trust in that happening. While Ross has been out for a while, and I'm not expecting him to return, although it's always a possibility. Next game. Hornets, Rockets, no LaMelo Ball, of course. Victor Oladipo should be returning after resting in the last game. Malik Monk always got that upside potential at 4,300 and a larger role coming his way. And Devontae Graham at 5,300. Pretty disappointing in his first start back with LaMelo out. Only dropped in 21 DraftKings points. But 30 points is not an outrageous expectation for Devontae. I think we've got to love Christian Wood at 8,100. The Rockets have shown that they do not give a single shit about minutes limits, and they will be pushing whatever they can. And the same goes with Johnny Wall at 7,600. Big numbers coming from Wall of late. Gordy Hayward's at 79. I think that's a really solid floor option. I'm not into Miles Bridges. Rozier at 71's all right, and the matchup does suit. And Kevin Porter is questionable. He's at 6,500, but with Wall and Oladipo likely there. Now, Vic could be gone. He could be on another team by the time this game takes place. I'd be pretty hesitant to use Porter. Also be pretty hesitant to throw Oladipo in, though. If we do know that he hasn't gotten moved by this time, there is perhaps some value there for him at that salary, given the way that he has been playing. All right, let's go next game. Which one is it? We're looking at the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Mavericks are 8-point favorites, so we are looking at a potential blowout spot here, which is something we need to pay attention to. Minnesota, who knows what the hell is going to happen with their rotation. Jordy McLaughlin is questionable, so how that impacts Rubio's up in the air. But what happens with Okogie, with Lehman, with McDaniels, with Vanderbilt, with Juancho Hernan-Gomez? They're running an 11-man rotation. What sort of bullshit is going to go on in Minnesota? One thing I am pretty confident about is Luka Doncic is going to be able to have a pretty good game, so I like him quite a bit, even though it is 11,000. Porzingis at 8,000 is more of a flyer option because he has been underperforming, but I don't hate that. But I do love Karl Anthony Towns at 10,000. They're just giving him the ball and getting out the way. He's averaging 55 over the last 3 games. Love it at 10,000. While Anthony Edwards, he's going to shoot himself out of games and shoot his team out of games, and he's going to give up a ton of points going the other way. But 40 points from him is not unrealistic at 7,600. Joshie Richardson, Timmy Hardaway, not interested in those guys. While the potential return of McLaughlin, I think, sours somewhat on ravishing Rick Rubio. And I wouldn't be investing too heavily there in him. The next game we look at is the LA Clippers. They are taking on the San Antonio Spurs. The Clippers are going to be without Patrick Beverley and Serge Ibaka again. The Spurs, they're fine. No LaMarcus Aldridge, of course. Derek White's at 5,800. White put up 35 points last game. I think there is some GPP value. I wouldn't fully trust it, but it looks okay. And Zubac's at 5,500 with no Ibaka. He's always in play there as a pretty solid floor option. Paul George is at 8,200, mainly because he hasn't been playing that well, especially last game, but I think there is some upside value in him there. While with Beverly out, is it Terrence Mann? Is it Luke Kennard who gets the boost? Do they continue to start foolishly Reggie Jackson in that situation? I'm not sure. I wouldn't be reading too much into the 39 that Terrence Mann dropped last game, or that big game that Luke Kennard had where he had, 39 in that one as well. Kawhi's at 9,000, absolute rock-solid cash option to me. DeJounte's at 74 on the high side. Wouldn't want to look at that. And Keldon Johnson at 59, probably also too high. 8,400 for DeMar DeRozan's all right. I wouldn't be falling all over myself to get it into a lineup, but it's all right. And I think that's probably the most I can say about that. Jakob Poeltl, he comes in at 6,200. I think that is probably on the high side to me. Next game we're looking at is the Brooklyn Nets on a back-to-back. They are taking on the Utah Jazz. No Kyrie, no Kevin Durant, of course. James Harden played on Tuesday. We assume he will play again this one, but we don't know. Nick Claxton's at 4,000. There is upside value in Claxton, but it is always a risk to use him. And then Harden's at 10,900. Assuming he doesn't have any more of those neck issues and they sit him out, which I don't think they will, I think he'll be fine to go there. While Tyler Johnson at 36, I think he's worth an upside flyer with Kyrie out. Gobert's at 8,400, and that is a great spot. Centers against the Nets is always one we want to look at, and it's no different here, so that looks good to me. Well, Don Mitchell's at 88, and I think the defensive woes of the Nets do allow you to have some level of confidence in utilizing him. I wouldn't go in for Bojan Bogdanovic. I might consider Bruce Brown, but I'm not completely sold at 4,700 there. The last game of the night we're looking at is the Atlanta Hawks. They are taking on the Sacramento Kings. The Hawks are 3-point favorites on the road after getting beaten in that meltdown against the Clippers. The total's 236, while the Italian cock Danilo Gallinari is questionable after sitting out the fourth quarter of the last game with a knee contusion. Capella's at 7,300, too high given the way they're limiting his minutes, but I am interested in Trae Young. 8,700 for Trae Young looks pretty bloody good to me, and same with Tyrese Halliburton at 5,700. De'Aaron Fox at 9,000. I like it. He's putting up big numbers. He's carrying a large usage load, and he's doing quite a bit there. While Rashawn Holmes at 71, they're relying a lot on Holmes, and I think you should be relying upon him quite a bit there too. And I like John Collins a lot at 7,400. He is rolling at the moment. They're giving him some pretty big numbers. He's averaging 44 over his last 5, which at 7,400, absolutely no reason for you to not enjoy it. Now, we do have a ton of games, 11 games, so let's go through and give some top value options. I think you're looking at Malik Monk. If Yanni plays, I love it. I like Karis LeVert. If Brogdon's out, I like Harden. I like Anunoby. I like Miles Turner if he plays. I like Claxton quite a bit at 4,000. Trae Young and Devontae Graham. I like Kyle Anderson, Tyrese Halliburton, Thomas Satoransky, Derek White, Ivica Zubac, and Pascal Siakam. And that'll do it for today's show. Don't forget, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to Al's channel. Subscribe to mine too, which you can find in the description. Josh Lloyd Fantasy Basketball. It's also in the title. Click that link there, guys. We are done. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.